That night my fiancé and I got into a huge fight about her racism towards me. But my fiancé defended her, telling me that it's just jokes and that I should not take it personally. In retort, I told him I would like to not see her again. If he wishes to do so, he can, but I will not, as I refuse to be racially abused and have my own fiancé enable such behavior. This led to another argument and I gave him an ultimatum. Either I don't see her again, or we are over. This seemed to straighten him up, and for a while things were good. He went to visit his mother, I did not, and our relationship flourished. The time I spent away from his mother was very great. My fiancé proposed to me over a year later and I said yes. It was around this time that the talks of whether or not my mother-in-law was going to be invited to the wedding started emerging. My fiancé wanted to invite her, of course, and I did not. This caused more arguments between us, and my fiancé went behind my back to send his mother an official invitation. I felt utterly disrespected and humiliated. My fiancé was at work when I found out, and the only reason I did is because I got a text from my mother-in-law. She stated that she was happy I invited her to the wedding, despite our misunderstandings. The text also stated that she never understood the problem with her jokes, and was glad I was finally able to recognize that they were just harmless jokes. I read that and flipped out. My fiancé invited her without my permission, although I was still confused by that she meant by the second part. When my fiancé got home I confronted him about it, and instead of getting into a huge argument I asked if we could drive over to his mother's house and speak with her. I told him I want to know my mother-in-law, but her racist nature in the past has prohibited me from doing so, and if she can change, maybe I can give her a second chance. So my fiancé and I drove off. We were welcomed in and his mother gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek as if we were friends. I wasted no time and asked her if she knew that my fiancé went behind my back to send the invitation. She seemed shocked, because she clearly didn't, and my fiancé confessed to her that he did it without my permission. We went into the dining room to talk, and the main point of conversation between us was her racist jokes. I think I spent perhaps a full hour trying to convince her that these jokes are harmful, that she is hurting me by saying that, but she would not relent. They were just jokes to her, nothing more. My fiancé mediated, but if anything he leaned on her side a little. After a full hour of getting nowhere with this woman, I stood up and stated that if she was going to have this attitude then she is not to be invited, and if she shows up I will walk out of my own wedding. As this marriage is not something I would like to be a part of. My fiancé and mother-in-law tried to convince me otherwise, but as I began leaving I felt something jump on my back. I fell to the floor and saw my mother-in-law yelling, telling me how dare I deny her the chance to go to her baby boy's wedding. All the while she was wailing on my back. I was just in shock at this point. My fiancé thankfully pulled her off, and told her to calm down. But as soon as he let go of her, she grabbed the steel poker beside the fireplace and tried to lunge it into my arm. Thankfully my fiancé caught her arm before she could do so, and I quickly ran out of the house and called the police. I waited outside for them to show up and explained what happened. My mother-in-law tried to spin the story, and my fiancé took my side thankfully. However, he still claimed to the police officers that what happened was not as extreme as I made it out to be. My mother-in-law's place has cameras and they checked those. Sure enough, clear as day on video, is my mother-in-law leaping on my back, wailing on me, and lunging at me with a steel poker. She was arrested and taken to jail. The fact that she lunged at me with the poker means she could be charged for aggravated assault, which has a sentence of up to 5 years. And yes, before anyone asks, I plan to press charges. Anyway, my fiancé came home and asked me if I had sustained any major injuries, which I had not thankfully. But I told him that this was my final straw. I am this close to breaking off my engagement with him, regardless of whether or not his mother is invited. I told him that he either goes no contact with his mother too and never speaks to her again, or we are over. I have given him 24 hours to make the decision. This happened yesterday, and he has 4 hours left. So my fiancé has made his decision and it was the biggest spit to the face I could have ever imagined. I genuinely believed he would go no contact with her. But when it came time to make his decision and sat me down, begging for a compromise, he outlined there was no way he would be able to cut his mother out. She is old and needs him, and she is the woman who raised me. What kind of son would he be if he turned his back on his mother when she needed him? I answered his questions by telling him not only what kind of son he is, but also what kind of man he is, and that's a spineless one. I packed my bags and left to my brother's place despite my fiancé begging me to reconsider. I have been staying here for about a month. By the looks of things, my fiancé wasted no time in bailing his mother out, and as far as I know they are doing their best to search for a lawyer. I have pressed charges. I have found a great lawyer of my own, and my lawyer states although it will be a tough battle, my chances are pretty good. I could even be getting compensation from this whole bout. I am not allowed to share many legal details about the ongoing case, but I can say that my ex-fiancé is furious. He has tried to show up a few times to my brother's house, but left because my brother scared him off. He's always been slightly intimidated by the fact that my brother was a Navy SEAL. I'm scared of what is going to happen, but I need to make sure my former mother-in-law gets justice. Edit. My former mother-in-law has been sentenced to 1 year in prison as well as a $2,000 fine. The look on my ex-fiance's face when she got sentenced was priceless. They hauled her away and she screamed and cried as they did. As much as I hate to admit it, I took joy in seeing her react this way. She's finally facing the music.